Welcome, and thank you for viewing the Centers Aligned with Areas for National Need, or CAANN Program, Fiscal Year 2026 Pre-Application Technical Assistance Webinar. Please note the application open period from June 5, 2026 to July 7, 2026. If you have questions about the webinar, you can reach us via email at CAANN or CAANN at ed.gov, and you can visit our webpage on the link indicated in the presentation. Before we begin, please note the application notice and instructions, or ANI document, posted in grants.gov is the official guide for submitting your application. This webinar is meant to provide technical assistance. If you encounter any information that differs from the information in the official ANI document, always refer to the ANI document published in grants.gov. The fiscal year 2026 application notice and instructions document was published on grants.gov on June 5, 2026, and the application deadline is Tuesday, July 7, 2026 at 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. If your application is 1 second late, it is late and will not be accepted. Therefore, please submit your application early to allow for any technical or other issues that may arise. To access the application package, visit grants.gov and search for Assistance Listing Number, ALN, 84.015C, or Funding Opportunity Number, ED-GRANTS-060526-001. Additional information and application guidance can be found on the CAANN Program webpage. Again, please remember the application notice and instructions document is the controlling document for this competition. The purpose of the CAANN program is to provide grants to institutions of higher education or consortia of IHEs to address one or more of the following areas of national need by teaching languages of strategic importance to the United States national security and economic prosperity, such as Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Hungarian, Polish, Russian, Czech, Arabic, Swahili, Hausa, Hindi, Urdu, Mandarin, Korean, Japanese, Farsi, Bahasa, Thai, and other languages, providing instruction in fields needed to provide understanding of areas, regions, and countries in which the language is used, supporting research and training in international studies, and the international and foreign language aspects of professional and other fields of study, and advancing the national security interests of the United States by providing instruction on critical regions such as Latin America, Europe, Eurasia, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. This year's estimated available funds is $70 million. The estimated range of awards is $1,200,000 to $1,400,000 for the 48-month project period, with an average award of $1,400,000 and a maximum annual award of also $1,400,000 for the 48-month or 4-year period. The estimated number of awards is 50, And we remind you again that the application deadline is Tuesday, July 7, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. and 59 seconds. We remind you that the Department of Education is not bound to any estimates that appear in the notice. The applicable laws and regulations that cover the CAANN program are included in this slide for your reference. Eligible applicants are an institution of higher education as defined in this notice, or a consortium of institutions of higher education as either a comprehensive center or undergraduate center. Institutions of higher education means, in addition to institutions which meet the definition of Section 101 of the Higher Education Act, institutions which meet the requirements of Section 101 of the HEA, except that they are not located in the United States, and they apply for assistance under this subchapter in consortia with institutions which meet the definition of Section 101 of the HEA. A comprehensive center means an administrative unit of an eligible institution of higher education that independently or through collaboration with other administrative units does the following: provides intensive modern language training, especially for less commonly taught languages in the center's areas of focus, contributes significantly to the national interest in advanced research and scholarship in the center's area of focus, employs a critical mass of scholars in the diverse disciplines related to the center's area of focus, maintains important library collections related to the center's area of focus, makes training available in language and area studies in the center's area of focus to graduate, postgraduate, and undergraduate students, addresses national needs for modern foreign language and area studies expertise and knowledge, including through but not limited to the placement of students into postgraduate employment, education, or training in areas of need, and finally disseminates information about the center's area of focus to audiences in the United States. An undergraduate center means a center that independently or through collaboration with other administrative units does the following: teaches modern foreign language, especially less commonly taught languages related to the center's area of focus, prepares undergraduate students to matriculate into advanced modern foreign language and area studies programs and professional schools program, incorporates substantial content related to the center's area of focus baccalaureate degree programs, employs faculty with strong language area and international studies credentials related to the center's area of focus, makes training related to the center's area of focus available predominantly to undergraduate students in support of the objectives of an undergraduate education, addresses national needs for language and area studies expertise and knowledge, including through but not limited to the placement of undergraduate students into postgraduate employment, education, or training in areas of need. And finally, disseminates information about the center's area of focus to audiences in the United States. Competition priorities. This year's competition includes 4 absolute priorities and 2 competitive preference priorities. Applicants must respond to both APs 1 and 2, and then must identify either AP3 for Comprehensive Center or AP4 for Undergraduate Center for its area of focus. The absolute priorities are mandatory. So this means that each application is responding to APs 1 and 2 and AP3, or APs 1 and 2 and AP4. For Competitive Preference Priority 1, or CPP1, An applicant may receive 0 or 10 points, depending on the quality of its response. There is no range for this priority. It is either 0 or 10. An applicant may receive up to 10 points, depending on the quality of its response, for responding to competitive preference priority or CPP 2. This priority, as CPP 1, is optional. And for CPP 2, there is a range of points. So an applicant may receive from 0 up to 10 points, depending on the quality of its response. Absolute priority 1, which is a required priority, is for centers creating programs of linkage. This means projects that include centers and programs for addressing areas of national need that also seek to create one or more of the following 3 items: programs of linkage or outreach between or among, post-secondary programs or departments in foreign language area studies or other international fields, and state educational agencies or local educational agencies. Partnerships are program of linkage and outreach with departments or agencies of federal and state governments, including federal or state scholarship programs for students in related areas. Programs of linkage or outreach with the news media, business, professional, or trade associations. Please note that in addition to incorporating your response to AP1 in the project narrative, you must also provide a separate response of no more than 3 pages to AP1 in the other attachments form of the application package. For absolute priority 2, which is a required priority, projects addressing areas of national need means projects that provide programs of study or instruction to address the following areas of national need identified by the Secretary: area studies involving Latin America, Europe, Eurasia, Middle East, Africa, and Asia, including foreign language studies connected with these areas, such as Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Hungarian, Polish, Russian, Czech, Arabic, Swahili, Hausa, Hindi, Urdu, Mandarin, Korean, Japanese, Farsi, Bahasa, Thai, and other associated languages. Please note that in addition to incorporating your response to AP2 in your project narrative, you must also provide a separate response of no more than 3 pages to AP2 in the other attachments form of the application package. Absolute priority 3 and absolute priority 4 are the priorities where you can pick one or the other. If you select absolute priority 3, then you will be focusing on creating a comprehensive center project, which means projects or proposals that will be carried out through a comprehensive center, as defined in the notice, which means training at the graduate, professional, and undergraduate levels. For these types of projects, you must select either comprehensive center or undergraduate center as your focus. Review the definition of comprehensive center in the ANNE. Remember, in addition to incorporating the response to AP3 in your project narrative, as you did with AP1 and AP2, you must also provide a separate response of no more than 3 pages to AP3 in the other attachments form of the application package. Absolute priority 4, again as absolute priority 3, is one of the 2 absolute priorities that you are able to select. If you decide to focus on an undergraduate center, then you would respond to absolute priority 4. These projects or proposals will be carried out through an undergraduate center as defined in this notice, This means that you will concentrate on the undergraduate level only. Again, remember, you must select either a comprehensive center through AP3 or an undergraduate center through AP4 as your focus. Please review the definition of undergraduate center in the AANN. And as with the other absolute priorities, in addition to incorporating the response to AP4 in your project narrative, you must also provide a separate response of no more than 3 pages to the AP4 in the other attachments form of the application package. Competitive Preference Priority 1 is optional. You will receive either 0 or 10 points for your response to this priority. CPP 1 is Returning Education to the States from the Secretary's Supplemental Priorities. This means projects or proposals that will be carried out by either entities identified, designated, or endorsed by a governor or chief state education official for purposes of implementing the project or proposal. Please note that if you respond to CPP 1, you must include a letter of designation or endorsement by the governor or chief state education official in the Other Attachments Forms section of your application package. The letter should be on the entity's official letterhead. Additional guidance on responding to the Returning Education to the States priority for CPP 1 is available at the link on the slide. Competitive Preference Priority 2, which is optional, provides the opportunity to receive up to an additional 10 points, depending on the quality of your response. CPP2 is about using artificial intelligence in your educational programs. This is from the Secretary's Supplemental Priorities. For this priority, you would design projects or proposals that expand the appropriate use of artificial intelligence technology in education through integrating AI-driven tools into classrooms to personalize learning, improve student outcomes, and support differentiated instruction. The integration may include, but is not limited to, adaptive learning technologies, virtual teaching assistants, tutoring, and data analytic tools to support student progress. In addition to incorporating your response to CPP2 in your project narrative, you must also provide a separate response of no more than 3 pages to CPP2 in the Other Attachments form of the application package. It is very important as you are designing your proposal that you keep in mind these application requirements. Grants will only be awarded to centers that focus on the following: a single country or a world area, which must be one of the ones identified in the notice as an area of national need. Again, those areas are Latin America, Europe, Eurasia, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Instruction in the principal language or languages of that country or area, and those disciplinary fields necessary to provide a full understanding of the country or area, and area studies involving those areas of national need, including foreign language instruction, and which either provide training at the graduate, professional, and undergraduate levels as a comprehensive center, or at the undergraduate level only as an undergraduate center. Please make note of the ands and the ors in the language of this application requirement so that you are fully compliant with the requirements of this proposal. The project abstract should not exceed 1 double-spaced page and should include a concise description of the following information: project titles, goals, and expected outcomes and contributions related to research, policy, and practice. You should also include an overview of the center's unique characteristics. Your response to the absolute priorities. Remember, you are responding to 1, 2, and 3, or to 1, 2, and 4. Response to the competitive preference priorities, if you so choose, as they are optional. The populations to be served, the primary activities to be performed, and the subrecipient activities if they are known or specified at the time of the application submission. It is very important that you only attach ED-approved files as detailed in the 2025 Common Instructions, and we provide a link to the Common Instructions in this slide. The project narrative is the most important part of your application package. It should be attached as a single document to the project narrative attachment form and should be organized as indicated in the ANNE. Again, make sure that you only attach the ED-approved file types indicated in the 2025 Common Instructions. Please ensure that you include a table of contents that shows where and how the important sections of your proposal are organized. The table of contents should not exceed 1 double-space page. For the application narrative, you are strongly encouraged to limit this to the equivalent of no more than 65 pages. Double-spaced 12-point font. The recommended page limit does not apply to the SF424 face sheet, the supplemental SF424, your budget form, your budget narrative, your response to the 427 GEBA, the project abstract, the table of contents, or any of the other items listed on this slide and in the ANNE. The project narrative, 65-page suggested limit, is only for your responses to the selection criteria and the priority. The budget narrative should be attached as a single document to the budget narrative attachment form. Again, ensure that you attach ED-approved files as detailed in the 2025 Common Instructions. The budget narrative should provide a justification of how the money requested for each budget line item will be spent, and the total amounts for each project year should match the total amount in line 12 of the ED 524 budget form. In this section, you will provide an itemized budget breakdown for each project year and the basis for estimating the costs of personnel, fringe benefits, travel, equipment, supplies, contractual, other costs, indirect costs, and other projected costs. Be sure to complete an itemized budget breakdown and narrative for each year of the proposed project. As you prepare your budget narrative, ensure to provide a breakdown of the categories as listed on this slide and which correspond to the 12 line items of the ED 524 budget form. Indirect costs are allowed for the CAANN program, but they are limited to the grantee's indirect cost reimbursement of 8% to a modified total direct cost base. Here are some additional resources for indirect cost questions that you may have. We reference the webpage of our indirect cost division, as well as an email where you can reach out to them directly should you have any questions or need additional assistance. Subgrantees are allowed under the CAANN program, and under 34 CFR 75.708 B and C, a grantee under this competition may award subgrants to directly carry out project activities described in its application to IHEs, nonprofit organizations, professional organizations, and businesses. Applicants must clearly identify all contractors and subgrantees in the project narrative and the budget narrative. The budget narrative should include the services to be performed and products to be provided, along with the corresponding costs. Please review Appendix 2, Contract Provisions from the Uniform Guidance. Continuing with subgrantees, applicants are strongly advised to provide formal signed support or commitment letters from each partner institution or organization. Commitment letters should briefly describe what services and resources partners will be contributing to the project. Applicants should include these attachments in the Other Attachments Form section of the application package. And please note that all attachments must be uploaded as a PDF. Please list each partner entity in the abstract, as well as the type of eligible institution or organization in the abstract. Now we are going to describe the selection criteria. The selection criteria for this competition are from EDGAR, the Education Department General Administrative Regulations, 34 CFR 75.210. Applicants are strongly encouraged to label each selection criteria and respond to the selection criteria in the same order as presented in the ANNE. Note that each selection criterion also includes the factors or subcriteria that reviewers will consider in determining the extent to which an applicant meets the criterion. The selection criteria for the CAANN program are worth a total of 125 points. The maximum score for each criterion is noted in the parentheses. If an applicant responds to competitive preference priority 1, 0 or 10 additional points will be awarded, and to competitive preference priority 2, up to 10 additional points will be awarded for a total maximum score if you have a perfect proposal of 145 points. This is a snapshot of the selection criteria and the competitive preference priorities, along with their corresponding point value for this year's competition. The first selection criterion is need. Need is worth up to 10 points. The first factor is worth up to 5 points, and it is the data presented, including a comparison to local, state, regional, national, or international data that demonstrates the issue, challenge, or opportunity to be addressed by the proposed project. The second factor is worth up to 5 points, and it is the extent to which the proposed project demonstrates the magnitude of the need for the services to be provided or the activities to be carried out by the proposed project. The second criterion is significance, worth up to 20 points. The first factor is worth up to 10 points, and it is the extent to which the proposed project is relevant at the national level. The second factor is worth up to 5 points, and it is the potential contribution of the proposed project to the development and advancement of theory, knowledge, and practices in the field of study, including the extent to which the contributions may be used by other appropriate agencies, organizations, institutions, or entities. The third factor is worth up to 5 points, and it is the importance or magnitude of the results or outcomes likely to be attained by the proposed project, especially contributions toward improving teaching practices and student learning and achievement. The next criterion is worth the most amount of points, up to 50 points, and it is the quality of the project design. The first factor is worth up to 12 points, and it is the extent to which the goals, objectives, and outcomes to be achieved by the proposed project are clearly specified, measurable, and ambitious, yet achievable within the project period and aligned with the purposes of the grant program. The third factor, which is worth up to 10 points, is the extent to which performance feedback and formative data are integral to the design of the proposed project and will be used to inform continuous improvement. The third factor is worth up to 10 points and is the extent to which the design of the proposed project reflects the most recent and relevant knowledge and practices from research and effective practice. Continuing with the quality of the project design, the next factor is worth up to 5 points and is the extent to which the proposed project will integrate or build on ideas, strategies, and efforts from similar external projects to improve relevant outcomes, using existing funding streams from other programs or policies supported by community, state, and federal resources. The next factor is worth up to 8 points and is the applicant's capacity, such as qualified personnel, financial resources, or management capacity, together with any project partners, to further develop and bring the proposed project effectively to scale on a national level during the grant period, based on the findings of the proposed project. And finally, the last factor is worth up to 5 points, and it is the quality of the mechanisms the applicant will use to broadly disseminate information and resources on its project to support further development, adaptation, or replication by other entities to implement project components in additional settings or with other populations. The next selection criterion is adequacy of resources, and it is worth up to 10 points. The first factor is worth up to 4 points, and it is the adequacy of support for the project, including facilities, equipment, supplies, and other resources from the applicant or the lead applicant organization. The next factor is worth up to 3 points, and it is the relevance and demonstrated commitment of each partner in the proposed project to the implementation and success of the project. The final factor is worth up to 3 points, and it is the potential for the purposes, activities, or benefits of the proposed project to be institutionalized into the ongoing practices and programs of the applicant, agency, or organization and continue after federal funding ends. The next selection criteria is the quality of the management plan, and it is worth up to 15 points. The first factor is worth up to 10 points, and it is the feasibility of the management plan to achieve project objectives and goals on time and within budget, including clearly defined responsibilities, timelines, and milestones for accomplishing project tasks. The second factor is worth up to 5 points, and it is the adequacy of plans for ensuring the use of quantitative and qualitative data, including meaningful community member and partner input to inform continuous improvement in the operation of the proposed project. The last selection criterion is the quality of the project evaluation or other evidence building, and this is worth up to 20 points. The first factor, which is worth up to 10 points, is the extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building are thorough, feasible, relevant, and appropriate to the goals, objectives, and outcomes of the proposed project. The next factor is worth up to 3 points, and it is the extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building include the use of objective performance measures that are clearly related to the intended outcomes of the project and will produce quality data that are quantitative and qualitative. Continuing with the quality of the project evaluation, the next factor is worth up to 4 points, and it is the extent to which the methods of evaluation or other evidence building will provide performance feedback and provide formative, diagnostic, or interim data that is a periodic assessment of progress toward achieving intended outcomes. And finally, the last factor is worth up to 3 points, and it is the extent to which the evaluator has the qualifications, including the relevant training, experience, and independence required to conduct an evaluation of the proposed project, including experience conducting evaluations of similar methodology as proposed, and with evaluations for the proposed population and setting. The department has established a set of performance measures for the purposes of evaluating the success of the CAANN program and reporting under 34 CFR 75.110. Please review the application guidance on the program webpage linked on the slide for additional information on these 5 performance measures. What is the review and selection process for this competition? We remind potential applicants that in reviewing applications in any discretionary grant competition, the Secretary may consider, under 34 CFR 75.217, information outside the rank order of applications, including information in each application and any other information relevant to a criterion, priority, or other requirement that applies to the selection of applications for new grants, concerning the applicant's performance and use of funds under a previous award under any department program, and concerning the applicant's failure under any department program to submit a performance report or its submission of a performance report of unacceptable quality. In addition, applications are screened to ensure that they meet all of the program requirements. Peer reviewers to be employed in this competition have expertise in areas pertaining to the CAANN program. All peer reviewers are screened for conflicts of interest to ensure a fair and competitive review process. The peer reviewers will prepare a written evaluation of and score the assigned applications using the published selection criteria and the competitive and absolute priorities. A rank order of all applications is developed based on the peer review score. In the event that there are 2 or more applications with the same final score in the rank order listing, and there are insufficient funds to fully support each of these applications, the department will apply the following tiebreaker procedure to determine which application or applications will receive an award. The first tiebreaker is for Pell Grant recipients. Under this tiebreaker, the Secretary will select the application with the highest percentage of students who are Pell Grant recipients. If after implementing this tiebreaker, there are still tied applications and insufficient funding to support each application, the Secretary will then implement the second tiebreaker, which will look at the highest average score for the selection criterion, quality of the project design. If a tie remains, the third tiebreaker will be utilized. The third tiebreaker will be the application or applications that promotes equitable geographic distribution of program grantees. Applicant notifications. If you are a successful applicant, the Department's Office of Legislation and Congressional Affairs will inform Congress first regarding applications approved for new program grants. Successful applicants will then receive award notices by mail or email shortly after Congress is notified. No funding will take place before Congress is notified. If you are not successful, you will be notified in writing following the notice to the successful applicants. As far as timing, since grant awards must be made by September 30th, successful applicants should expect to be notified in late September. We are providing some additional application guidance for your assistance. What is the difference between absolute and competitive preference priorities? In order to be considered for funding, Each application must address APs 1 and 2, and then must identify either AP3 or AP4 for its area of focus. Remember, the absolute priorities are mandatory. An applicant can choose whether or not to address the competitive preference priorities. An applicant may receive 0 or 10 points depending on the quality of its response for responding to CPP2. Applicants that successfully address CPP2 may receive an additional 10 points. It is a range for CPP2. Please remember that, from 0 to 10. How do I ensure I adequately respond to the absolute priorities? Do not merely restate the priority language. Instead, show how the project design, partners, courses, materials, dissemination plan, evaluation, and budget advance the project's ability to successfully provide area and international studies and foreign language instruction in the Secretary's designated areas of national need. Make sure to address the priorities in the project abstract, the project narrative, and in the other attachments form. Remember, up to 3 pages per priority for your response in the other attachments form. Make sure you clearly label the sections in which you address the priorities, and be sure to include your responses to the priorities in the table of contents. May an applicant focus on multiple countries or multiple world regions? No. Application requirement 1 indicates that projects must focus on a single country or on a world area. Those areas of national need are established in absolute priority 2. Depending on the selected area of national need, a project may include 1 or more foreign languages associated with that area. Those languages include the list identified in absolute priority 2, as well as other associated languages. It is the responsibility of the applicant to clarify in the application how the proposed project design aligns with the requirements of absolute priority 2. As such, the applicant is encouraged to include a list of academic courses and programs that support its project design. Must an applicant focus on all countries of a world region, i.e., every country in Asia if focusing on Asia, when designing its application? As noted in application requirement 1, projects must focus on a single country or on a world area. If focusing on a world area, while the applicant is not required to include every country in a given area, it is the applicant's responsibility to demonstrate that their project design encompasses the entire region that is the focus of the project. Is there a preference for Asia as a single region, or will proposals be competitive if they focus on subregions such as Southeast Asia, South Asia, and East Asia? As noted in application requirement 1 in the AANN, projects must focus on a single country or on a world area. The areas of national need are established in absolute priority 2. It is the responsibility of the applicant to clarify in the application how the proposed project design aligns with the requirements of absolute priority 2. As such, the applicant is encouraged to include a list of academic courses and programs that support its project design. Is it possible to submit a single proposal for a project that covers 2 adjacent and interconnected world areas? In our case, Eastern Europe and Eurasia. As noted in application requirement 1 in the AANN, projects must focus on a single country or on a world area. Those areas of national need are established in absolute priority 2. It is the responsibility of the applicant to clarify in the application how the proposed project design aligns with the requirements of absolute priority 2. As such, the applicant is encouraged to include a list of academic courses and programs that support its project design. Is Canada an approved area of national need under AP2? No. Canada is located in North America, so it would not be included in the areas of national need identified by the Secretary in Absolute Priority 2: Latin America, Europe, Eurasia, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Does French qualify as a language of strategic importance? The French language qualifies under the CAANN program as it is a language spoken within Europe and Africa, which have been identified by the Secretary as areas of national need. Therefore, the program of instruction or training for the French language should focus on its use within the areas identified as areas of national need. Under AP1, should proposals focus primarily on developing new programs, certificates, and activities, or are applicants with established programs of linkage eligible to apply? With respect to Absolute Priority 1, projects must include centers and programs that address areas of national need and create programs of linkage. However, applicants with pre-established centers and programs are not precluded from addressing this priority. In either case, it is the applicant's responsibility to clearly document how their project design fully addresses the requirements of AP1. With respect to the AP2 languages, has the department compiled an official formal list of priority languages for this CAANN competition? In accordance with Section 601C of the HEA, the Secretary consulted with a wide range of federal agencies and received recommendations regarding national need for expertise in foreign languages and world regions. In addition, AP2 indicates the areas of national need designated by the Secretary, followed by a list of languages associated with these areas of national need. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the applicant to clarify in the application how the proposed project design aligns with the requirements of AP2. And again, we encourage you to include a list of academic courses and programs that support your project design. For CPP1, returning education to the states, how should applicants address this priority? Is it expected that the entity is appropriately designated and endorsed, rather than the comprehensive or undergraduate center? An applicant may address CPP1 by including a letter from the governor or chief state education official that clearly identifies, designates, or endorses the eligible applicant, which is the lead fiscal agent and IHE that will carry out the projects or proposals. The letter should be submitted on the state entity's official letterhead and signed by the appropriate official. The chief state education official may vary by state, based on each state's education governance structure. Each applicant should refer to their state-level reporting structure to determine who would be considered the chief state education official. Additional guidance on the returning educations to the state's priority is available at the link on the slide. Can we provide student aid, such as scholarships, stipends, assistantships, fellowships, payment for books and exam fees, and related costs? Please note very carefully the requirements of 2 CFR 200.466. These costs may be allowable, but only in certain circumstances. Costs of scholarships, fellowships, and student aid programs at IHEs are allowable only when the purpose of the federal award is to provide training to participants, and the federal agency approves the costs. Tuition remission and other forms of compensation paid as or instead of wages to students performing necessary work are allowable provided that the individual is conducting activities necessary to the federal award. Tuition remission and other support is provided in accordance with established written policy. The student is enrolled in an advanced degree program at the IHE or affiliated institution. The tuition or other payments are reasonable compensation for the work performed. The IHE compensates students under federal awards as well as other activities in similar manners. Charges for tuition remission and other forms of compensation paid to students instead of salaries and wages are subject to the reporting requirements in 200.430. Again, please make sure that you thoroughly review all of the requirements under 2 CFR 200.466 as you are designing any student aid that your proposal may offer. May grant funds support student participation in summer language programs, study abroad, or other international education experiences. Student aid for summer language program must meet the same requirements as non-summer language programs. The summer program must be part of the student's approved program of study and must align with the requirements noted in 2 CFR 200.466, participant support costs. Refer to the application guidance document on the program webpage. Student aid for study abroad or international education experiences must meet the same requirements as domestic language programs or activities. The study abroad or international activity must be part of the student's approved program of study and must align with the requirements noted in 2 CFR 200.466. Please refer to the application guidance document on the program webpage for more details. Can the evaluator be paid using grant funds? And is there a suggested budget amount for evaluation in the grant? Yes, evaluators can be paid using grant funds. But no, there is no requirement regarding minimum or maximum amount of grant funds that can be budgeted for evaluation purposes. As with all project costs, evaluation costs should be reasonable, allowable, and allocable according to the Uniform Guidance's cost principles and be fully justified in your budget narrative. What is the supplement not supplant requirement? So the CAANN program uses the waiver authority of Section 437D1 of GEPA for supplement not supplant funding requirements. Funds made available under this program shall be used to supplement and not supplant non-federal funds that would otherwise be used for activities authorized under this program. For example, funds may not be used for activities or programs an IHE is already implementing or doing. However, an IHE may use funds from this program to increase their investments in currently planned activities. Does the 8% indirect cost rate apply to subgrants as well? Yes. Subawardees must comply with the administrative requirements of the award, including the indirect cost rate limitations as outlined in 2 CFR 200.332, particularly the requirements for pass-through entities. This includes the indirect cost rate identification as per 2 CFR 0.332B1XIV and the review and approval process for indirect cost rates specified in 2 CFR 200.332B4. If a recipient has an indirect cost rate that exceeds 8% of modified total direct costs, then their rate must be capped at 8% of modified total direct costs, just like the awardee. Will the full 4-year award be obligated or provided to recipients at the beginning of the grant cycle, with center spending according to their approved annual budgets, or will funding be distributed in annual or other installments? Grant funding for the 4 years will be front-loaded in year 1. That is, grantees will receive 4 years of funding at the time of award. The term front-loaded means that a funded project will receive all years of funding at the time of the award. As noted in the ANNE, each applicant must develop a budget of up to 48 months or 4 years to carry out its proposed project. Include the Ed 524 budget form completed for the 4 years of the project and a corresponding budget narrative justification that provides a detailed budget breakdown of all requested costs. Per 2 CFR 200.305 federal payment, Grantees must draw down funds to cover project expenses for actual immediate cash requirements of the recipient or subrecipient in carrying out the purpose of the approved program or project. This means that your drawdowns from G5 must be for immediate cash needs only. How should we address the course lists and enrollments since we will not be able to provide enrollments for 2026-2027, as those are not finalized until late August for fall and late January for spring? Should projected course offerings and enrollment estimates be clearly identified as projections, with an explanation of the university's course scheduling and enrollment timelines? For the 2026-2027 enrollment period, provide an estimated or projected enrollment for the year. For course offerings in academic years 2027 to 2028 and 2028 to 2029, provide estimated course offerings and enrollments based on the best available information. If actual course offerings and enrollment numbers aren't available, then proposals, estimates, and/or projections should be clearly explained in the application. Are the program performance measures mentioned in the information document example suggestions or the actual required text? The program performance measures in the ANNE document are the final measures for the CAANN program. As noted in the ANNE, applications must describe the data collection and reporting methods the applicant would use and why those methods are likely to yield reliable, valid, and meaningful performance data, and the applicant's capacity to collect and report reliable, valid, and meaningful performance data, as evidenced by high-quality data collection, analysis, and reporting in other projects or research. As such, the applicant should describe in its evaluation plan how it will collect and report on the CAANN program's required performance measures. Regarding Program Performance Measures 1 and 2, what is the difference between enrolled in and completed intermediate or advanced level language courses? For Program Performance Measure 1, you should report on the total number of enrolled participants who may or may not successfully complete the course. For Program Performance Measure 2, you should report on the total number of participants who successfully completed the course. Can you point me in the right direction to get more information or context on what's meant by description of government services in areas of national need and in other employment sectors? In the other attachments form, applicants should clearly explain how their proposed project will prepare and encourage participants to enter government service and other sectors with demonstrated need for expertise in foreign languages, area studies, and world regions that align with the Secretary's areas of national need. For example, applicants may consider identifying the areas of national need that you address, explaining how your activities, language instruction, area studies coursework, training, or research aligns with these needs, and demonstrating relevance to the national interests as aligned with the Secretary's areas of national need. Are there limitations on eligible applicant submissions? Multiple submissions from a single entity are permitted provided each application proposes a substantially different project, such as serving a distinctly different area of study, country, or a world area identified in the notice as an area of national need and their associated languages, comprehensive center versus an undergraduate center, or project activities, such as distinct programs of linkage. How should we format our project narrative? Before preparing the project narrative, applicants should carefully review the program statute and regulation, the common instructions, and the ANNE document for specific guidance. The Secretary evaluates an application according to the program's specific criteria that we've already reviewed. The project narrative is where the applicant provides detailed responses to each selection criterion and its corresponding factors, as well as how the project responds to the absolute priorities and, if applicable, the competitive preference priorities. Very importantly, applicants are encouraged to respond to the selection criteria in the same order as they are presented in the ANNE when you are developing the project narrative. You should write in a clear and concise manner and clearly label each selection criterion and their corresponding factors. Does a 65-page narrative limit also apply to consortium applications, or will consortia be permitted additional pages? The 65-page limit for the application narrative is a recommendation that applies to all eligible entities. Is there a required or recommended list of topics or headings that applicants should include in the 65-page project narrative? Organize your application package according to the guidance provided in the ANNE. The project narrative should include a table of contents and follow the order of the priorities and selection criteria in the ANNE. The ANNE also includes an application checklist starting on page 23 that should be helpful to you. May tables and charts be single space, and can we use a font size smaller than 12 point? Yes, as long as tables and charts are in a reasonable format, they may be single space and use a smaller font. Will reviewers be selected by subregion, as would have been the case for Title VI grants? As noted in the ANNE, peer reviewers would be selected based on their expertise in the specialized area studies, international studies, and modern foreign languages necessary to review, score, and rank the assigned applications in each distinct category. When are grantees expected to begin grant activities? Grants should be ready to immediately begin grant activities following the grant start date of October 1, 2026. Now we will review some additional application information and resources. The most important guidance that we can provide is to thoroughly read the ANNE, understand the requirements, and plan ahead. Remember that in order to successfully apply, you must be registered in two systems, sam.gov and grants.gov. If you are already registered, make sure that your registration is active and up to date. In addition, please make sure that your organization's UEI number is up to date and active in SAM. If your UEI number is not active or somehow outdated, grants.gov will not accept your application. And these sorts of issues are rarely ever solved in a day. If you need to register for grants.gov, please make sure that you do that early as it involves many steps. Remember to write clearly, as peer reviewers have only your application proposal to evaluate your design. Finally, we strongly urge you to submit early. Do not wait until the last day to submit your application, as the issues you will usually encounter can mostly, for the most part, cannot be resolved in a day. Remember also to monitor the grants.gov website for periods of unavailability due to scheduled maintenance. We remind everyone that applications must be submitted electronically through the grants.gov portal. The grants.gov does not allow applicants to unsubmit applications. Therefore, if you discover that changes or additions are needed, once your application has been accepted and validated by the department, you must resubmit the application. Please know that if this happens and the department receives duplicate applications, we will accept and process the application with the latest date, time received validation. Again, we remind you that applications must be received on or before Tuesday, July 7, 2026, at 11:59 and 59 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. For complete instructions on how to apply through grants.gov, please review their workspace page. And if you have any issues related to the grants.gov submission process, please reach out to them via email or at their help desk number indicated on the slide. And we also recommend that you review their self-service knowledge base portal, which has extremely helpful information. This is a screenshot of the grants.gov homepage for your reference. As we mentioned earlier in the webinar, for the CAANN program, you would search for this grant opportunity number. This is the landing page of the CAANN program on grants.gov. As you are preparing your application checklist, please make sure that each of the documents noted on the next two slides are in your application package. If any of these items are missing, especially the project narrative and the budget forms, your application may be deemed ineligible and will not be reviewed. The standard documents that are required are the application for federal assistance, the Ed Supplemental Information application, the budget information for non-construction programs, the abstract, the project narrative, the budget narrative, responses to the absolute priorities and the other attachment forms, no more than 3 pages for each priority, a letter of designation or endorsement for CPP1 if you choose to respond to that, a separate response for CPP2 of no more than 3 pages if you intend to respond to that, letters of support for partners or subawardees, your list of courses, CVs and position descriptions, any acronyms that you may use, and your narrative response to the description of government service in areas of national need and in other employment sectors. In addition, under the other attachments form also include your policy regarding non-discrimination hiring practices and your travel policies if such policies exist. Please note that if you are applying as a consortium, you should include a group agreement, consortium agreement, that addresses the required elements of 34 CFR 75.128 and describes a rationale for the formation of the consortium. The final section are the insurances and certifications, which include the standard form LLL, the grants.gov lobbying form, and the insurances for non-construction program ED 524B. On this slide, we have resources to help you, a direct link to grants.gov, a link to sam.gov, a link to our program webpage where you may access the recording of this webinar with its slides, the application notice and instruction application guidance document, which contains questions and answers that should be helpful to you, as well as other resources. Technical assistance for ED grantees applies to all discretionary grantees, and the Grants Training and Management Resources online training courses provides a wealth of on-demand classes that can help you in learning more about the discretionary grant process. We wish you the best as you prepare your proposals for the CAANN program. Please contact us with questions or concerns at our main contact email, caann@ed.gov. I am very pleased to serve you. My name is Margarita L. Melendez, and you may contact me directly at my email at margarita.melendez@ed.gov. Thank you again, and best wishes.